Hello, I Divya Momaya, founder of Mentor My Board. Welcome you all to this exclusive series by Prepress Journal in association with Mentor My Board on Grow with Governance. I'm sure you all are enjoying reading this wonderful series wherein we are coming out with independent directors, stories and their experiences, their knowledge sharing with you all, which will help you in your board journeys as well. So, focus of the series is on the role of specially independent directors in the business growth and sustainability. Mentor My Board is a platform to groom, nurture, and handhold promoters, independent directors, women directors, and board aspirants with a vision to create 1 lakh directors community. And we have been providing a virtual platform to directors, mentors, and consultants. Free Press Journal is more than 9 decades old newspaper. Today, Free Press Journal has gone beyond being a print media, and it has a strong digital presence with large online subscribers for their e-paper. Free Press Journal has been quite active in the webinar space during the lockdown, and even before lockdown, it was involved in policy level discussions. And at this present initiative organized today is the part of Free Press Journal's ongoing strategy to create awareness on various policy level topics. And in this series, we have come, today exclusively with Mr. Ranganath NK. Now, let me welcome him to this series and also take the opportunity to introduce him.
Thank you, Divya.
Yes, thank you, sir. Mr. Ranganath has been a mechanical engineer by qualification. He has been on several boards, and he has 22 years of experience with a company called Grundfos. And with this, I think he has also been aggressively working on sustainability, ESG, water conservation, and he has been the president of Madras Management Association, uh, the chairman of Tamil Nadu Council of CII, and the chairman of AEE, Alliance for an Energy Efficient Economy. This is really wonderful to know your profile, and he is very passionate about speaking on the subjects such as water, energy, education, and skill development. Currently, he is a part of CII National Committee on Skill Development and is a member of Executive Committee of IGBC, that is Indian Green Building Council. So we welcome you, Mr. Ranganath, to this exclusive series of Free Press Journal and Mentor My Board. And I would request Jessilia to, start the session or the interview with you with the questions. Over to you, Jessilia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. Uh, Mr. Ranganathan, to start with, I would, firstly want to know your journey because you have been, uh, right now you are in Grundfos, but you have had a very wonderful journey. So can you just share some, details or learnings on how things were in your initial board journey and how it is now?
Yeah, basically, I joined Grundfos from another company which was a part of my family, which were running a few companies, and I had joined the family business not initially, but when they were in a bit of a trouble. So, and that was sort of all settling in. This Grundfos thing came about. They wanting to come to India. It's a Danish multinational owned by a trust. And I've always looked at Grundfos as a company right from the 80s because I liked the way that they were structured. The trust, the family we started the company, put everything 85% into our trust and said they can never take money back from it. The family can't take money. So it was reinvestment, R&D, and social work, what today is called CSR. I thought this is a wonderful place to be. And when they got the chance to join them, I did, with the permission of my family, of course, with the extended family. And so I joined them in 98 and then registered the company. Although I was designated managing director CEO, I did not get on to the board because most of the time was spent on establishing the company, an unknown brand coming into India. So I got onto the board actually in 2006. But I was then invited to the board. I was there in every board meeting, literally behaving like a board member. The the company, when we started, nobody knew the brand. When we said Grundfos, they thought we made televisions. and because the Grundig was a known brand in India, so but we had to establish everything from zero. So what started off as the registered office in my home with one employee. By the time I retired, I had grown into a 600 crore company with about 350, 400 employees, which is pretty good as a journey. But I would say that over those last 22 years, a lot of things changed in terms of regulation, in terms of laws, etc. And one had to keep in touch. And I was the only Indian member of the board. The rest were all from outside the country. And that was not very easy to handle because people outside do not understand how complex our laws can be. I understand even today there are some 435 sections of laws that we have to comply with for being a director or being an independent director. And that's not an easy thing to come by. So managing that board, ensuring that we are in compliance with everything, and also ensuring the work being done. And when you're a managing director, look, the buck stops with you.
True.
That's not the same with an independent director because you don't have the same responsibilities, and rightly so. So we need to ensure that the work goes on at the same time. You're managing the board, you're managing the rest of the stakeholders. But the good thing was that even when we started, the focus, because of the ethos of the company, which was there worldwide, our focus was on sustainability, conservation, as well as what you today call CSR. Help the society with whatever we can. So in that way, it was a great journey. It was a lot of freedom was given to me, and they said it's up to you. You tell us what you will do, but stick to what you have told us you will do. Uh, the idea was to make Grundfos a significant company in India and a significant brand, but not necessarily the largest company in India, pump company in India. Uh, we wanted to be known as the most responsible and innovative company, and that's what we set out to. So there was a clear vision in the board, and I had a free hand to do that. So, and when your value system matches with the value system of the company, that's the best place to be in.
It's a
So,
good
in
thing
fact,
to
this
know.
brings me to one follow-up question on the succession. Uh, if you can throw some few points, which the promoters, the founders, especially in family businesses in India, we see that a lot. As to how the transition can be smooth. So, some three or four pointers which you would like to throw, for those promoters to think when they are, passing the battle to the next generation.
Yeah, I have been on both sides, so I think I'm qualified to talk about this, and I've seen issues on and the good things on both sides. The best thing that I can tell you is if you are a professional manager or managing director with a family business outlook, you cannot beat that combination. Invariably, what happens, the families, when they run companies or when they want succession, they confuse ownership with management. So invariably you become a manager because you're a part of the family and not because you're capable, and that's something that families have to avoid. It's better that you sit and keep your shares and earn your money from either the dividends or the share value, because the stakeholder value goes up and the gross value added goes up by keeping away if you don't have the capability and leaving it in capable hands. And when you come to
Correct.
professionals, most professionals can't see beyond their noses. If I tell you what that is, because you're a professional, you think that 3 years, 5 years is my time. My time has to be the best time. I don't care what happens after that. So no long-term decisions are taken at the cost of short-term pain by professionals, whereas a family can take that call. I don't mind suffering for the next 2 years if I know that 3 years after that I'm going to be, much better off, and I know how the environment, business environment is, and how things are going. So a combination of this. So
Correct.
that's one of the things that I did when I came to Grundfos. Never took decisions based on what is good for me and my time, but took those calls as what is good for the company and got that embedded in everybody. Do not take decisions because it is convenient for us as a person, but in the larger good of the company's growth remains the good for everybody. Okay, some people can suffer short term, But otherwise, the only way for the company to grow is to think about the company, put it first, and look at really long term, what you call growth, as at the same time ensuring that we don't die in the short term. So that,
Absolutely. Wonderful.
so
Yes.
that's important. Yeah, go ahead.
Super. Yeah. So, tell us about your journey as independent director in various organizations.
So when I was in Grundfos, couple of organizations approached. See, I had become a director on my family run businesses when it was really in trouble. When I came out back to India and said they handed it over and said try to turn this around. And the best training ground is to try to turn a sick business around. I mean, you as everybody knows that the trouble that you're in teaches you far better than all the good times that you're in. You can never
Mm.
forget those lessons. So that was a huge training ground for me at the age of 30 or so. And the fact that I could sort of manage this a turnaround and sell those companies off created a good grounding. So when I was sort of working in Grundfos, a couple of people whom I knew said, "Can you join our board?" And of course, the companies were not under sick, but they knew that I had the capability of at least troubleshooting if there was trouble. And that's one of the things that companies go through cycles. All companies do, and they survive. The good ones survive if they know how to. So I was invited to be on the board of a listed company, and that listed company split into two different companies. So I was on the board of both the companies. I still continue to be. Then some time back, about 6 years ago, Last and Two Valves, they approached and said, I had a discussion with Mr. Naik at that point in time, and they said, could you be on the board? Because but by that time I had scaled up Grundfos considerably, and it was doing quite well. So I presume that kind of spread in the market. I don't know what the market thinks, but always when I people talk about the company and talk about the person, I look around. I said, who is this person? Because the market has a different view of who you are and you know what you have done. But of course, that sort of brought me into the other companies, and slowly then there was one more Danish valve company which then invited me onto the board just now, because mostly they're looking for people who can help them on strategy. And as an independent director, what can you do? Help on strategies, be a conscience keeper for your minority stakeholders, be a conscience keeper for your values that you are stated. You cannot run the company, and you should not run the company, because then you're no longer an independent director. So that's how the journey started. And there are still some more, people approaching, but then you need to be careful too as to what you get into. So
Absolutely.
So
Wonderful.
I have so I have a question regarding around that. So how do you take a call on which direction you want to take as an independent director? Because ESG has been one of your strengths as a for so many
yeah,
years. So how do you drive that decision, or yeah, drive the decision in the board?
in the boards that I am.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, see, basically, let's look at ESG or its predecessor called PPP.
Ma- yeah.
People, Planet, Profit. That's how it started. Then it's come to environment, society, and governance. Okay, governance got added because of all the issues that were taking place. Now, if you look at that from that point of view, these became buzzwords in the beginning. Some people started with seriousness, and then it became buzzwords that everybody started talking about sustainability, PPP, or now ESG without doing anything about it because it looks good.
Mhm.
Now, my business is to say that look, you don't want to look good, you want to do good. So, in the boards that I am, I try to push this agenda. I heard long ago when I was in Grundfos, when we brought somebody in for business excellence, which Grundfos is good at. The question that he asked me still rings, and this is about 15 years ago, rings in my head every day when I look at things. He says, "Do you want to be a certified company or do you want to be a practicing company?" So my business is to ensure on the boards that we are practicing companies and not certified companies. Certification is useless if you don't practice, but it's good to market yourself if the certificates if they are there, and the outside world knows. But what is it that you're doing internally? So what kind of examples can you give? And there are many that over a period of these years. Okay, I've been working for 41 years now, 22 in Grundfos and 2 years now after that. But the whole focus is to see if we can make an impact on the ground, not because somebody's saying, "Ha, good job done," because we feel good about it and we are contributing. So the contribution starts with you as a person or me as a person around us, and it starts sort of getting embedded with everybody. Just to give you an example, in Grundfos, when we were talking about it, started at the top. It started with me pushing, trying to convince my team, and the team bought it, and then they tried to convince their team. The day I really felt happy that it is really embedded is that when my uh, 10 standard pass technician who was looking after all the maintenance called me one day as I was walking out, and of course he spoke to me in Tamil, which I speak too, among the other languages. So he said, "Can you come to the parking lot and see the lights there?" So I looked at the parking lot. I said, "Yeah, I've seen these lights. They're no, no, no. You come." So when I walked up the parking lot, he had changed it to LED from the normal CFLs. I said, "Fantastic, but why didn't you go solar?" He says, "No, I actually thought of it. I went and sat with the engineer. We found the return on investment on solar was not good enough." I was actually blown. A technician talking to the managing director on return on investment on because of being green and clean. That's the kind of embedment that you need, and that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to do in the boards that I'm in. It's not easy because you're not directly there, you're not there day to day. You have to convince the board members, and they have to take it down, and things get lost in translation, which is normal. But then you don't stop trying, and that's what's been happening, and that's what I try to do. Not same thing with being green. They start greenwashing. Buildings get a green tag and then they forget about it. But no, even if today, if you walk into the Grundfos factory, you'll still see it's one of the greenest, because what you need to do is to ensure it's a part of your life, that you take your own medicine, however bitter it is, before you go talk to the world what you want to do. So, and that's been the approach.
Now, as independent director, and as ESG has one of its component as governance. So, as independent director, do you think independent directors play a important role in enabling corporate governance and growth? So, what are your views on that?
That perhaps is the main role an independent director has to play, but that's perhaps the most toughest role that they have to play. It's not easy, because there
Absolutely.
are many, uh, for all good reasons. Financial sustainability is vital, because if you're not financially sustainable, the rest go down the drain. Nothing else you can do. But trying to balance this whole thing, whether it's ESG or BTP, is a difficult job. I've had very tough conversations in some boards as to why, especially we are a stock market driven economy. I mean, we in the sense the whole world. Everybody invests in the stock market, so wants to see his stock grow, his valuation grow. It doesn't matter how the world is going, but as long as it grows, they are very happy. And if you go to the US, it's quarter to quarter. So how can we bring some sense into this whole system? I've asked some of the board. I've asked even in Grundfos right at the top, are we prepared to say that if I have a normal EBITDA goal of say 25%, am I prepared to work at least in 20% or 25% of my business at an EBITDA of 5% to ensure that I create an impact on the ground for people and the planet, and show the monetary value of that impact in my balance sheet, and really show a triple bottom line. Not many boards can, especially the finance people, actually jump out of their seats if you say this. How can you do this? But we have to develop that. If you really need to see the impact, and as an independent director, you can only influence, you cannot change things. You're not running day to day. And if you have a very good CEO or a managing director or a chairman who has this, it's more a philosophy and not a business strategy at this point of time. But I'm sure as the world goes, more and more people realize it would become a business strategy, because already the large multinationals are taking on this. And you can see that the ESG focused companies, there's also ESG funds now actually in the market. Those companies seem to be doing better in the world. So I do hope the independent directors take this on as a role, as the main role, to ensure that we are able to push this agenda. And I do hope that the boards, I'm not saying 100% of your business has to be built on a PPP basis, but at least where you're making an impact, let us say on the environment, take a part of it and say, okay, I'm going to use this part of the business and grow this percentage over a period of time, where I'm really saying my EBITDA can be lower, but I'm going to put the monetary value of the impact on the savings that I've had on the environment, or all the impact I've had on the people, and present this bottom line. And hopefully at some point of time there will be regulation that all companies have to have a triple bottom line, have to have ESG scores, have to have an index, which is a sustainability index, which some companies have started. And the stock market will say the higher the sustainability index, the more investment will come there. So hopefully, I'm dreaming.
Is there any to-do list you have in your mind, going forward, or you plan to enter new sectors as specifically? Is something specifically in your mind
Yeah,
right now?
yeah. See, the boards that I enter, the first thing that I see is who's behind it. The people behind the company are very vital for me, and I learned this many years ago, 40 years ago, from a bank manager who said that I don't care about business cycles. People can lose money, people can make money, but if I trust the person behind that company, I will go ahead. And also a learning for you. What you're bringing to the board is your ability to synthesize ideas from different parts of the businesses and different businesses, and make it apply to the one that you're in now. And for that, diversity is important. And I would also like to be on a board where they allow you to be who you are, and also be able to give diverse opinions, sometimes even opposing what the promoters are saying no, this is not a good idea. Not that
Mhm.
you can force that issue, because you don't have the voting power nor the ownership there, but at least they should be able to listen to that, and ensure that even if they don't agree, that they put it down and say, okay, this is the person who said this. And it has worked in most of the boards, so that's what I see. It's not the money or not the prestige. I mean, the money is not enough to what you call uh, 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 cover the risks that you're taking of being on independent debt. The risks are huge these days.
Super. So, sir, you have varied experience ranging from marketing, sales, design, project management, finance, human resources. Now, what experience helped you the most as the board leader, and which skill sets you feel today are missing, in the independent directors?
Good question this is. See, the one thing that I really uh, feel happy about is the fact that I went through many of these, and I have encouraged people who report to me to shift into various roles, because you never have a holistic view of business if you're stuck in one role. And that's the problem I see in many directors, independent directors, managers, etc. A very siloistic kind of view of what they do is the best for the company. It never works that way. It's business is, when I look at uh, organization structures, I keep telling them this is stupid. We have a box on top, we have three or four boxes below that box, and we have five boxes. It's like a mythical ladder which doesn't exist. It's not the way business runs. Business runs like a cycle wheel. The hub is a management that everybody can be there, and each spoke is a department. It could be a marketing, it could be a design, it could be your manufacturing, it could be your operations. And if one of those spokes break, the cycle wheel doesn't run straight, it starts wobbling. So you should understand that each spoke is as important as the other one, and at some times some are stronger, at other times you should let the others lead. So a holistic approach and an improvement in all areas is vital, and that's the kind of thing an independent director should have. Or if they don't, then you should have independent directors who have exposure to each one of these, so they can work as a team. Sometimes it's too much to ask. So for me, I was very happy to have run through all this, because when you run a company which is not doing too well, you necessarily have to look at everything. And I enjoyed that stint of really going deep into this. So we need to, and also I would like to see independent directors directors who have run businesses or who have seen at least two business cycles, two downturns. Because what you learn in a downturn when you survive, these days I understand for startups, people ask you, have you failed? How many times you have failed? And that's a what you call qualification of being a good thing, because failure makes you learn. And if you have learned from it, if you have not learned from it, it's a difficult thing. So that is very, very important, that this is vital, that we have this experience and independent directors are able to bring that on board.
What would your advice be to aspirant independent directors, or directors who are looking at entering the board for that matter?
Like I said, choose well,
Hmm.
choose areas that you have some expertise in, or if you have a common expertise, choose areas that you like to be in, which you're passionate about.
Mhm.
Look at people behind the company, have a good working knowledge of the basic laws that you need. You can't have knowledge of everything, but make sure the boards give you support of professionals, because we need to demand that we need to have professional support, because there are too many laws, too many things. You need a good lawyer, you need a good auditor whom you can talk to even as an independent director and say, okay, what do we do with this? And that's important, and that's one thing that sometimes boards miss or independent directors miss. So we have said that, look, we need to have access to this, because there are too many laws and compliances that we don't want to be in trouble, because you could be in trouble anytime, and even if you have left the board, you could still be in trouble. And that is something that the government has to look at. Of course, they have been making things a little easier in removing some of the criminal liabilities that have been there in some of the laws, but there's a long way to go still. Then they should also, the new ones should have also a good value system of their own, and it's preferable to join those companies where your value systems match the values of the company, the stated values of the company at least. And then you should have the gumption to be forthright without being uh, what you call argumentative or disagreeable. You have to be forthright, you have to state your point of view, and don't take this thing as if it's a matter of prestige, and don't come to the meetings without preparation. I find a lot of people just get the papers and walk in there and take this, and that's not what you're there for. You're basically there for adding some value, and take that seriously. So I always insist on the boards that I am, that I need the papers earlier. Don't give me a paper a day ahead. And some boards do that. I said no, I need preparation time. I need to look at it. I need to come back. I need to read. You drop 200 pages on the day before the meeting. I can't read. So I'm sorry, I can't read. I will not read. So you tell me ahead. You give me enough time so that when we come to the board, we discuss issues. That's one. Two, the independent directors and all other directors seem to be spending 80% of the time on the past and 20% of time on the future. I like to switch it around. I tell in all the boards, sorry, the past is water under the bridge, milk spilt. It's only post mortem. It's good to know history so that we don't repeat the bad ones. But I would like to spend 80% on what the future is, because that's where we can add value. That's where we can make changes. Because ultimately, it's the future that matters, and only we learn from the past. So that's the approach.
Correct.
Super.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Ranganathan. Thanks a lot for speaking about on this topic and with us. I would firstly like to point few pointers from this discussion. Firstly, you mentioned how values are important to be part of a board, and I think it in the end populates to the employees also, those values which are very important. And another thing is that uh, to take long term decisions, it is also very important that you be prepared for the short term pains as well, and not just look at short term gains, but look at it in a long term perspective. And also the part where you said tough time teaches you difficult lessons. I think that would be something people should gain out of this whole discussion, that it's not very easy to be part of any activity without having those lessons taken. And lastly, I would also like to mention about the part where you said ability to disagree is vital for independent directors and for other directors as well, which I think, yeah, it's very important to ask the right questions and, make things happen. Thank you, sir, for thanks for being part of this discussion. And this discussion will be appearing on a print version of Free Press Journal and would be appearing on the YouTube channel of Free Press Journal and Mentor My Board. So it was nice connecting with you. Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
Was a pleasure, and in fact, I will look forward to the future editions with the others too, because it's quite informative and it gives you a good picture of what is going on.